I'll toss it to Council President Andrew Friedson for opening remarks, and then we'll open up for questions. Council President Friedson, to you.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, everybody, for joining. It's exciting to be here for my first media availability as council president. I really appreciate all the critical work that each of you do to keep our residents informed. And I just want to make sure that you all know that I intend to continue the tradition of hosting regular media availabilities when the council is in session to share information and answer as many questions that you have. First, let me express my sincere gratitude to past President, Councilmember Evan Glass, for his dedicated service to the council and to our residents in Montgomery County. His leadership was instrumental in overseeing a very critical transition for us as we move towards the 20th council, the largest and most diverse and representative in our county's history. And it was really an honor to be able to serve beside him. And I also want to express my excitement about the partnership of our newly elected Council Vice President, Kate Stewart. Her experience as chair of the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee and Audit Committee, on which I serve, in addition to her regional work as board chair for the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments and her background as mayor in Tacoma Park. All of these will serve us well on the council. I'm really looking forward to partnering with her over the course of the next year. And as I look back on the first year of this historic 20th council, I'm really proud of significant progress that we've made on several key priorities. We continue to tackle the housing crisis, which continues to be a top priority of mine as chair of the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee. We bolstered support for local businesses. We implemented measures for a sustainable, greener future. We grew our biohealth sector, advanced safer roads. We protected the healthcare of our retirees and the commitments that we've made to our public service employees. And we maintained our long-running AAA bond rating, the longest in the country. During my term as council president over the course of the next year, I look forward to continuing to build on that progress and to move forward and take it to the next level with bold action. As we work towards these shared policy goals, I want to be very clear that transparency and accountability are going to be our governing doctrine. We'll boldly embrace our oversight role like never before, and certainly that begins with our largest and most important investment, our public schools. With unprecedented needs and finite resources, we have to ensure that every dollar is put to its best use and that it serves our greatest needs. Along with 2 new inspector general positions dedicated exclusively to MCPS that we advanced last year, and that is part of the ongoing effort that I have spearheaded to grow our Office of Inspector General. We'll work with state partners, the Office of Legislative Oversight, and the Board of Education to ensure accountability for investments in educational outcomes. Gardes Bien, the county's motto, guard well, will not just be a motto, it will be a guiding principle. We'll also continue to pursue innovative ways to produce and preserve housing that's affordable, accessible, and it serves the variety of needs in our community. Ensure that it's available where it's needed and wanted the most, with access to jobs, transit, and educational opportunities. And we'll adopt a more detailed district-level housing target so we can hold ourselves accountable for the 31,000 housing units we need before 2030 and utilize the most effective way we can simultaneously tackle our housing and climate challenges with forward-looking and data-driven land use and transportation policies. As we plan for a sustainable future for our youngest residents, we also need to make sure that we're responding to our older residents. That starts with delivering on our efforts to make universal early childcare a reality in Montgomery County. More than 1 year after creating an early care and coordinating entity, and nearly 5 years after the Early Care and Education Initiative was launched, quality early education and childcare is more important now than it's ever been before. On the other end of the spectrum, older adults are the fastest growing segment of our population, with more than 31% of households, nearly 1/3, with one resident 65 and older. And that number grows every year. 9,000 residents turn 65 years young each and every year in Montgomery County. I want to focus this next year on unleashing the potential of our aging adult population so we can fulfill our capabilities as a county of vital aging and a community for a lifetime. In that spirit, tomorrow I'll be proposing the first of a series of initiatives to realize that vision with a senior property tax credit that is targeted based on income and that raises the amount that is eligible based on the value of homes so that we're not unnecessarily leaving people out of the mix, but we're targeting it to those who need it the most. None of the priorities that I've shared are possible unless we can afford them. And so we need to make sure that we're focusing on a growing and thriving private sector economy. Part of developing new economic opportunities includes acknowledging the challenges we face and committing ourselves to go bold and to take big actions to attract new investments. We need to recognize the risks assumed and benefits created by our local employers who are the backbone of our communities. And we must understand that net negative taxpayer migration, combined with the historically high commercial vacancies that we're seeing, present significant challenges moving forward. So we're going to break away from the same old strategies that lead to the same old results. We're going to be strategic, we're going to be intentional, and we're going to act with urgency. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be announcing a series of proposals to show our commitment to a bold economic development strategy. So tomorrow, as I mentioned, we have the senior property tax credit that's targeted to those who need it the most. Doesn't leave people out unnecessarily. We also have a conditional use zoning text amendment that will help cut red tape for our local small businesses, including home-based childcare. Been working for nearly a year with the hearing examiner, the planning department, and other stakeholders to try to address our oftentimes overly cumbersome process for approvals through the conditional use process. So I'm looking forward to that and looking forward to having support of colleagues. And then we have a number of major things on the initiative as well that are continuing the work that the council's undertaken. One is the Fairland Briggs Cheney Master Plan that has gone through the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee through a series of meetings. This has been a really positive advancement for our commitment to grow the East County, to ensure that there are amenities and housing and thriving communities everywhere in Montgomery County, and especially focusing on the East County. And it is the first master plan that we're undertaking as part of Thrive 2050, our new general plan. So very much looking forward to that. We took straw votes previously, and now we're going to be up for final approval of that. And then we have the SAFE Act, which was sponsored by Councilmember Glass. I'm a co-sponsor of that. Several council members as well are co-sponsors as well. So we have a big day tomorrow with introduction of some new items and also the passage of some former items as well. Look forward to talking to you today, to hearing your questions. And now let me turn it back to you. And Jordan, you can help facilitate some questions, please.
Great. Thank you, Council President Friedson. A report is a friendly reminder. If you have any questions, note that in the chat or you can raise your hand. Up first, I see a hand raised from Fox 5, Tom Fitzgerald. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Council President. Good to see you. A question about the housing bill that's going to be taken up today. It's 3828. It's the right of first refusal to buy rental housing. What problem is this addressing, and why do you think this is important?
Yeah, so the right of first refusals, it's going to come before the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee this afternoon. There's several items that this is trying to address. Number one, there is a challenge longstanding in Montgomery County that in a right of first refusal, where the government has the ability to purchase a multifamily property that's up for sale in the private market in order to preserve it for affordable housing, historically, Montgomery County has had to outlay tens of millions of dollars of money to hold the property for a very finite amount of time, even 24 hours or less, in order to exercise its right of first refusal. That is not common, and that is extremely inefficient. And so, for instance, there's a current right of first refusal project that the county is part of, that the county had to outlay over $70 million in cash, which is just not an efficient way to do it. It doesn't provide more affordable housing because it's just for the temporary, ownership by the county to then provide it to the opportunity to a nonprofit provider or some other partner. So one of the goals is to allow for assignment, which is something that I have been advocating for years. This is a very simple change that would allow the county not to have to expend unnecessary amounts of tens of millions of dollars that could actually be addressing our affordable housing needs, and to utilize this tool, which is an important tool to preservation. There are a number of other elements of this bill that the executive branch is looking to advance to try to make it easier, for instance, for tenants to be able to purchase the properties that they live in, and to allow for more time for the exercise of right of first refusal for nonprofit partners to work with the county. there are a number of issues that we need to work through. It's complicated. My view is this is a very important tool to preservation, which is critical to addressing affordable housing, but we have to make sure that we do it in a thoughtful way, that it doesn't cause unnecessary delays and disruptions into the private housing market, which is already fragile. So that is a delicate balance, something that I'm committed to working towards. Today, we are going to be fleshing out some of those issues. I don't expect it to be voted on and voted out of committee today. This will be a work session where we work through some of those issues, and we'll come back in January to hopefully manage through them and address it. But essentially, the goal is we want to address preservation with all the tools that we can and make sure that we're doing so in a thoughtful way that puts the county, our nonprofit partners, in the best position possible without causing overly burdensome or unnecessary disruption in a fragile housing market. That's easier said than done, but that's ultimately the goal.
As you look at the year ahead of you, you take a look at the skyline of Bethesda right now. There's a lot of big cranes building a lot of big apartment buildings. They're gorgeous architectural structures, but they're out of the financial reach of a lot of people. How concerned are you that all these gleaming new buildings are creating a problem about affordable housing in the county?
Well, there's no evidence to suggest that adding supply of new housing adds to affordability challenges. In fact, it's the opposite. I am one of those people who believes in the basic tenets of supply and demand. The housing crisis is largely created by the fact that we have far too little housing and too many people who want housing. We need to address housing supply at every level of affordability. Deeply affordable, market rate, and beyond. We don't have enough of housing in general. And it's important to note the luxury housing that you're talking about today becomes the naturally occurring affordable housing 15, 20, and 25 years from now. It doesn't happen unless you build it. And for 20 and 30 years, we really weren't building an adequate amount of housing. And so if anything, now we are barely starting to catch up to the type of housing that we used to build in the 1970s and 1980s, that we really stopped building in the 1990s and 2000s. We have a lot of catching up to do. And if what you're saying is true, which it is, that housing is out of reach for most people, it's largely because we haven't built enough, not that we're building too much.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Tom. I see hand raised from Jenny Bixby with MoCo 360. Good morning, Jenny.
Good morning, and hi, Andrew. I actually had a question regarding, we're facing a little bit of a transit budget conundrum right now. I know that a lot of officials are unhappy with the budget that has come out on the state level, and also that we're facing a little bit of a cliff with Metro. You and I were both on that legislative meeting a few weeks ago. I guess, could you speak, like, as council president, as to what you think this means for us in Montgomery County, and also how it can be addressed, kind of what you're hoping might change?
Well, we're all deeply concerned about the $3.3 billion in wide-ranging cuts for Maryland's 6-year transportation plan that the Moore-Miller administration has proposed, that we learned about recently. There are significant cuts to roadways, to transit services, and the impact that would have on our economic development goals, on our environmental sustainability progress, and on our equity progress. When you look at the disproportionate impact that the cuts would have, for instance, on ride-on service, and the progress that we've been trying to make to add bus service, because bus is a critical aspect of transit. And we know that the average income, the median income of transit riders in Montgomery County is about a third or less of our average resident. And so we know that ride-on users are some of our most vulnerable users. They're critical that we support them. And we understand that this would be a massive blow, a $17.4 million hit to ride-on service. So, we recognize that the administration has been faced with challenges that they inherited, that they didn't create. They're forced to make tough decisions. I'm very hopeful that we can have an open line of communication, that we can work very closely with our lieutenant governor, who, by the way, was formerly a transportation engineer in Montgomery County, who lives in Montgomery County, who certainly understands the challenges that we face, and that we not be penny wise and pound foolish, that we ensure that the fiscal challenges that the state is facing are not solved on the backs of the counties, as there have been in the past, unfortunately, and are not on the backs, most importantly, of our most vulnerable residents, many of whom utilize ride-on on a daily basis. If you look at historically, where we've seen the state balancing its books with pension shifts that have had a huge impact on our ability to fund education, on highway user revenues, which have had a significant impact on our ability to maintain roads. We want to work with this administration. We feel confident that we're going to be able to work with this administration to ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated moving forward, and that we protect our most vulnerable residents, and that we continue to advance our economic development, our environmental, and our equity goals moving forward.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jenny. Up next, we have Kate Ryan from WTOP. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning, and thank you. I wanted to ask about the 2 additional positions in the OIG's office. Why do you think more oversight is needed, and is there an area of government where you think more oversight is specifically needed right now?
The answer is yes and all. Early on in my tenure, starting on the county council 5 years ago, I made a commitment to focus on oversight. My view has always been that our only currency in public life is public trust. And so I embarked on a series of initiatives working with my then government operations and fiscal policy colleagues, Nancy Navarro, who's since left, and Sydney Katz, who continues on the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee, to introduce a number of proposals. One of them was a complete overhaul of the way in which we fund and focus on and expect of the Office of the Inspector General. Instead of it being mostly a reactive department that responds to the tip line of alleged waste, fraud, and abuse, doing a regular review of all county government, so that we are reviewing our departments on a regular basis and our agencies on a regular basis, so that we're not waiting to learn from a tip of something that might be wrong. And looking at our counterparts in other parts of the region, other parts of the country of similarly sized jurisdictions on what they were doing with their oversight, and to learn the lessons that I knew from the state of my prior role there. And so we have dramatically increased the scope of the Office of the Inspector General. It has been widely successful under the leadership of Megan Lamarzi, our new, not so new anymore, but relatively new Inspector General. And part of that build out has been to allow for additional powers that the state allowed for the Inspector General to work within MCPS and to fund positions. And so we've added positions to look at county government and to do that proactive, not just reactive work over the course of several years. There's a work program and a work plan for that expansion of the office, and also to add the 2 new positions within MCPS. As you've seen in recent weeks and months, the 2 new positions and the added resources to that office have provided us with significant reports to be able to do our job better, to push us to be more transparent and accountable, and to allow us to do our oversight function better. So it has been a huge success so far. I look forward to continuing to double down on those efforts and make sure that we're providing the type of oversight that we need. The school system is half of our budget, and we need to be providing the fiscal financial management oversight of that, working with our Board of Education partners. And we need to be doing it within county government as well. And I think we've made great strides to do that, but obviously there's a lot more work to be done.
Thank you. And if I can follow up to that, when you talked about the state balancing its budget on the backs of the counties, and again, you mentioned the pensions, when specifically are you talking about, and are you concerned the latest, our partners at Maryland Matters reported on the close of MACO and discussions that I think it was Delegate Moon who said, we've got to put on our big boy pants, maybe look at tax increases. What are your thoughts there?
Well, again, I think that the historic nature of the state balancing its books and solving its fiscal challenges on the back of the county is not a sustainable path forward, because our residents are state residents. And that is not an acceptable outcome. And I think it has caused some negative realities and some real challenges moving forward. My view is we need to address the challenges that we face. We need to do it in a collaborative way. We need to make sure that we are working with our state partners so that there's not a passing of the buck from the state to the counties to expect the counties to do the work that the state should be doing in partnership with us at the local level. So I look forward to continuing those conversations. We're hopeful and we feel like we have a good relationship with this administration to be able to work together. And we know that they value us at the local and the county level. And hopefully we can continue that working partnership to address these challenges. We do face challenges. We are going to have challenges as we move forward. The question is, how do we deal with them? And can we be collaborative and look at this as a partnership and not just of a state passing along its responsibilities to the counties to solve?
Gotcha. But just so I can be specific, are you talking about the past immediate governor, or historically that's the way it's always? If you could just toss
I'm
out.
talking about historically, the state has passed many responsibilities when it faces fiscal challenges to the counties in order to address their fiscal challenges. The pension shift was a huge, very damaging example of that in the past. We don't want to repeat that. The highway user revenue cuts is another example of that. We don't want to repeat that because these are key priorities. Nobody is questioning whether or not public education should be funded. It was just passing the buck to the counties to pay for it. That's not an acceptable outcome. Similarly with highway user revenues, no one is questioning whether or not we need well-maintained roads. It was just a question of whether or not the local governments would have to step up more than they ever have before disproportionately in order to fill the gaps. I don't think that that is a sustainable model moving forward. And so we want to work with the administration and with our state delegation to ensure that that doesn't happen today as we face challenges moving forward.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Reporters, I don't see any other questions in the chat. If you have any last minute questions, you can note that in the chat or you can raise your hand. Going once, going twice, 3 times. Okay, back to you, Council President Friedson, for closing remarks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want you to know how much I value the work that you do. We need you now in local coverage more than ever. Please hold us accountable. Please ask the tough questions. Please push us as much as you can. Our residents are relying on you, and we very much appreciate you. We all have important jobs, and it's the residents that we're all here to serve. So thank you for being part of this first media availability. We look forward to doing this every week that we're in session, and looking forward to a good year ahead. In the meantime, wishing you and your families a happy, healthy holiday season. I know this is a very dark time and a very challenging time for many families, but very hopeful that we can all find time to embrace the light within each of us, and we can all come together as a community to address the challenges that we face and spend time with our family and our loved ones as we move forward, and look forward to seeing everybody, if I don't see you beforehand, in 2024.